This video is designed to give you some information about how to search for, evaluate, and cite government websites and educational websites. So let's start off at Google. You can use the web search engine of your choice, for example, Yahoo or another search engine like that. My fallback is Google, but they all work about the same way. To look for a .edu, which is a educational website, or .gov, which is a government website, of course, the first thing you need to do is pretty familiar, and that's just enter your search terms. I'm going to put in supporting teenage parents. All right. What helps us, normally if you just hit search, you get a bunch of results back, and there's a variety of results. This one's a .gov, this one's a .org, this one's .uk, this one's .org, a blog of some kind, a .com, okay? So I've got a variety of results. Now some of these would probably be useful, and notice it brings up some scholarly results that we have, but if I want just .edus or just .govs, there's actually a shortcut for that. So in my search box, I need to add these terms. The word cite, S-I-T-E, .edu. If I add that to my search terms in a search engine, I'm only going to get back .edu websites. If I add cite, .gov, I'm only going to get back government websites. The .edu websites could be K through 12 websites or colleges and universities. So be careful when you're looking at those. You want to make sure that you're looking at a college or university. They could also sometimes be student work. So for example, if a college professor has access to some space at their university, they might have student work. So one of the things that you want to look out for when you're working on something like this is what's known as a tilde, this little squiggly line, and that's with a name after it in particular, and that often means that it's a personal website, that it's not actually backed by the college or university, but that it's just housed on their website. So you want to use all of the evaluation tools that you've learned for finding a good website and apply it to those .edus. .govs can be a city government, it could be a congressperson's website, so it could be something that's actually backed by the government or that is backed by a government official or that's just a statement by an official. It could be the National Institute of Health sites, which are actually just scholarly articles, so you can get a variety of things back. Now some .coms and .orgs or .nets can be useful, but for our purposes, I want us to start not using our fallback techniques, which is probably just to do a basic search, but instead to learn some new strategies. So let's add that to our search terms. Let's add cite, .edu with no spaces. All right, so here are my search results. When I get something like this back, one of the first things that I do is really just scroll through and look at what my results are. An introductory packet, child support, something from Florida State University, parent-child relations, welfare reform. I can learn a lot from some of this. In Google, it will tell me if I'm looking at a PDF. It sometimes is also at the end of my URL, the PDF. The URL gives me a lot of information. Here I know that I'm looking at, in that second result, I'm looking at a library result, John C. Hodges Library. The one under that says FSU, so I know it's Florida State University. And Google even often will try to give me, after the URL, will try to state where it's from. So Florida State University of Akron. Once I find something that I find useful, which often requires that I spend time navigating keywords and searches, but that's another lesson. Once you've found some good search terms that you know are going to bring back results, this is where you want to go. So let's choose one of these sources. All right, so I've clicked on one of the links, and what I'm taken to is not a website, but a PDF. This happens all the time when you're looking at government websites and .edu websites. A lot of times you're going to have that there are PDFs or even scholarly articles housed in these places. When I say that you need a .edu or .gov website, this works. I would take this would count, even though it's a PDF. So technically what you're looking at is a document on a website, all right? You might other times be looking at a full website, but as you can see here, this is a 2-page PDF. So let's say I've read this, I find it useful, and I want to use it. Well, my next step is to think about how to cite the thing at all, right? So now what do? How do I write a works cited entry for this? Well, websites are always going to be different from scholarly articles in that some of them have all of the required information and some of them don't. For for example, the first thing that you usually put in a citation, and you want to find the website information for for MLA website information in whatever guide you happen to be using. The first thing is an author, right? So if you scroll here, you're going to find there's a list of references on the left-hand page. There's information on the right-hand page. It's called The Children of Teen Parents. But I don't actually have an author. There's a person listed here, but if you read carefully, you're going to see this is actually just, see the asterisks? It was a response to somebody else. So this Flanagan P at the bottom is not actually our author. So there's not an author here, okay? So what do I do with that? Well, if there's not an author, you don't include an author. You have the option of using the publisher as the author, so you could say Florida State University as the author. But here, if you don't have it, when it's the author, you just skip it. Okay, so that means that the next thing up is the title. When we have a document on a website, we're looking for the title. If we're on a website that has information published on a specific page, we're looking for the name of the page. All right, here we have the Children of Teen Parents. So if I'm going to write an MLA entry for this, I go and put the title down, the Children of Teen Parents Fact Sheet. Now I added the word fact sheet because it says fact sheet on the left. You could leave it on, leave it off. Some of this is more flexible. Notice that I have capitalized all the major words, I've put it in quotation marks, and I've put a period at the end because when I look at a website entry in my MLA guide, it tells me to put a period at the end. All right, well now I have the title of the article that I'm looking at, or the document that I'm looking at, or the page that I'm looking at, and the next thing I need is the title of the page itself. So if I look here, I have a document rather than a website. But I can do a little bit of investigative work and look at the URL, cpeip.fsu. So the website itself is cpeip. Now I'm not going to put the .edu there. That's not what people are looking for. That's not what goes in MLA. Instead, I'm trying to think what's the actual title of the page. Well, I can tell quickly from the fact sheet that those letters stand for the FSU Center for Prevention and Early Intervention Policy. So really, what page am I on? Well, I'm on the page for the Center Prevention and Early Intervention Policy, and on that page I'm looking at a document called The Children of Teen Parents. So what I need to do is add the title of the page to my entry, FSU Center for Prevention and Early Policy. Now, this is, again, a little bit of an investigative move. It's not always going to be super clear-cut what this is, so just do your best. FSU Center for Prevention and Early Policy goes in italics because the names of websites go in italics. So I have the title of the page, the title of the article on the page, or the title of the document, and now I have the name of the actual whole web page. All right. The next thing I need is a sponsor or a publisher. This one often throws people for a loop. And the way I try to think about it is who's responsible for the content here? And if websites aren't free, who's paying for this website? That's often one of the things that I think about. Sometimes the sponsor and the title of the page are actually going to be the same, and that's okay. If you have two things that say exactly the same thing, that's all right. The position in your MLA Works Cited page and the format are going to tell people that that's why it's there twice. Okay. When I look at this document, I think FSU Center for Prevention. I'm going to scroll down and see Teen Parent Child Quality Improvement Project. Well, here I have Florida State University. I'm thinking that Florida State University, if I think about who put up the money to put this document here, probably Florida State University. Often if I'm at a .edu website, almost always the sponsor is going to be a college or university. So I can just put in Florida State University. Now, the sponsor or publisher doesn't go in italics, so that's just normal. I have a comma at the end, not a period. If you absolutely cannot find a publisher at all, you use the lowercase letters NP, N period, P period, and that stands for no publisher. All right, in this case, I do have a publisher. I check my guide and see that there's a comma at the end. All right, the next thing I need is a date. So on the better websites and on better documents, I'm going to find a publication date or a last update date. And you have to, again, do a little bit of investigation. You could probably also use a copyright date here. Here I have copyright 2005, but luckily I also have a date on the bottom, 4/15/05. Because I have a date, I can add the date, 15 April 2005. Now, notice the formatting. It's the same as all of the MLA dates. They like the day, the abbreviated month, and then the year with a period at the end. if there was no date, you don't skip it, you write N period D period for no date. If there's just a year, just include a year. And then we add at the end, like we do for any web source, web 30 January 2013. All right. So now you have searched for, evaluated, and cited a document on a website. Well, sometimes when you do your searches, you won't actually come into a PDF. You'll find an entire website. For example, if I scroll down in this search, this University of Memphis one, teen pregnancy. If I click on this, I'm not in a PDF, I'm not in a document. This is a full web page that's more along the lines of what you're used to seeing on a web page. Now, this site's loading pretty slowly, but what you can see is this has a wealth of information. There's an infographic over here. There's a full report, Shelby County Teen Pregnancy and Parenting Needs Assessment Report on that bottom right-hand side. There's a link to the short version or full version of that report. On the bottom, it looks like there's a link to the Shelby County Teen Pregnancy and Parenting Needs Assessment, right? If I'm writing about this, I'm thinking like jackpot. But for now, I just need to cite this website. If I clicked on one of those reports, I'm going to actually cite that separately. It's going to have its own entry in my Works Cited page. For now, I just want to cite this page. All right? It's going to look a little bit different, although not significantly different from what you just saw with the document on a web page. Instead of a document, I have what's basically an article, right? I have a lot of language, but it says Teen Pregnancy and Parenting Success Grant. To me, this is the title of the page that I'm on. Okay, so the title of the page is Teen Pregnancy and Parenting Success. The name of the web page itself, I'm going to call the Center for Research on Women for the College of Arts and Sciences. That's, if I wanted to find this web page, I wouldn't say the web page is the University of Memphis, because I imagine if you go there, you get a lot of information about the school. Instead, this is a separate project, the Center for Research on Women. The publisher or sponsor of the site is the University of Memphis. Now, the date of the site, I want to scroll and take a look and kind of glance around for a date. I've got a copyright on the bottom, and that's often where you're going to find the date. Copyright 2013, University of Memphis. Then I also have an update date. Last updated 1/2/14. So it's safe to actually use that date. Okay? So we have the information that we need. We have a title, we have the name of the web page, we have a sponsor, and we have a last updated date. So if you take a look at what that looks like, it's right here. So we have the Teen Pregnancy and Parenting Success Grant. We have the Center for Research on Women in italics, because that's what you do for the web page. The University of Memphis is our sponsor, followed by a comma, the date that it was last updated, web, and the date that we accessed it. All right? So I would say of all of the different things that you're going to have to cite, websites are the ones that are the trickiest, because sometimes information is missing, sometimes information is unclear. So just do your best, find valuable information, and I look forward to seeing what you come up with.